Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Sam and welcome back to another art video. I love watching other artists on YouTube and watching their sketchbook videos, and a common reoccurring theme is that many artists hold fears that they're going to somehow mess their sketchbook up, make it look ugly, hate it, and not want to use it anymore. This is a really big problem because, in my opinion at least, a sketchbook is a place where you can go and mess up a lot and it not really matter. So that failure is actually really important because every time you draw something that you think looks bad, you're still learning from it. Practicing and making bad drawings is a lot more helpful towards your art skill than practicing nothing at all. I have had to deal with this fear before, and I've found that divvying my sketchbooks up into different general categories actually helps me get over it. So the first sketchbook that I want to talk about is the one that I reach for the most, and I'm going to call it the free-for-all. While I do sometimes use this sketchbook for planning out thumbnails and concepts for, let's say, possible clients, commission work, and projects, I typically just doodle in this, and I just kind of grab it whenever I feel like creating with no particular reason or purpose in mind. I just kind of want to draw something, and I typically draw things that I'm used to drawing. This sketchbook is really important because it's so carefree, and basically there's no pressure. And quite frankly, although there's a lot of mistakes in the book, the free-for-all gives me somewhere where I can kind of let go, and I found that that's the place where I make my best creative ideas. Most of the things that I make in this sketchbook don't look very great, at least not to me, but I've learned to live with that because I feel like I'm gaining more from the practice than I am from trying to create something perfect every time I sit down to draw. I'm not as worried about composition or particular colors or getting the shading right, line work, etc., and therefore it gives me more room to create and have actual freedom with my ideas, which in my experience at least leads to better things than when I'm strictly following guidelines and giving myself too many boundaries. However, it's not great as a standalone because, as you can see, I tend to draw the same things over and over again, the things that I like to draw, which are like my original characters, wolves, dragons, fantasy, sci-fi type things, which is great, but it can become a habit, which doesn't leave room for growing, which is why the rest of these sketchbooks are necessary. This leads me straight into my next sketchbook, which I'm going to call the Practice and Improvement book. And this is the one that I grab when I'm trying to focus on actively improving my art skills. While this actual sketchbook is pretty new, the concept is an old one. It's going to be full of loose but also technical drawings studying gesture, anatomy, perspective, etc. Basically anything that I want to improve that I'd like to use references for. While the free-for-all sketchbook is important for creativity and building new ideas, this sketchbook is important because it facilitates growth in skill building and the things that you're not used to drawing. So for this sketchbook, basically what I'm going to be doing most of the time is finding a reference that I like. Let's say I feel I need to improve on backgrounds or landscapes or the anatomy of a cat per se. What I'm going to do is look up a reference of those things and then study them. That way, one day, hopefully, I'll be able to use my free-for-all and draw them freely because they won't be as difficult for me. I'd also just like to mention really quickly that these house designs that I'm drawing are completely not my own. I am fully copying from a reference, and I'm doing that because I am terrible at drawing houses, so I'd like to improve. I'm interested in this style of house, and unfortunately I couldn't find the original artist. This was repinned on Pinterest, but just so you guys know, this is not my design. I'm just using it to build my skills. However, being able to draw them freely doesn't necessarily mean that there's no room for improvement, so this sketchbook will always have a place in the list of sketchbooks every artist should have. The next sketchbook that I wanted to address is what I'm going to call the Mixed Media Non-Objective Journal. This could probably easily be mixed up with the first free-for-all sketchbook, but I think this one is kind of in a class of its own, just simply because it's mixed media. And it's kind of like a journal for free exploration. It's non-objective, there's no, point. You're just making art to make. You won't have to feel pressured or restricted by drawing any particular subject. Sometimes I don't want to draw my original characters. Sometimes I just want to put blue and red together and make purple. And last but not least, you could also always have the sketchbook where you create better, more finished looking works. I can understand the appeal of having a sketchbook where every single page is kind of something that you're proud of. However, I can definitely also say from personal experience that drawing every single page perfectly never really happens unless you only go to that place with the intention of making something perfect. And this last sketchbook is a Moleskine. It's supposed to be for drawing, but I use it for all sorts of things, and I only go here when I'm intending and expecting and feeling ready to make something that takes quite a bit more time. And that's basically all of the sketchbooks that I think every artist should have. I feel that if you have these separated, that no matter what you're feeling like drawing that day, you'll be able to go somewhere and create, and in the end, that's what's important. Hey guys, I hope you liked that video, and if you did, feel free to go down there below this and hit that like button and even subscribe to my channel, and I hope that you do because I've got some really cool stuff planned for future videos, so yeah, I'll see you then.